Number one, whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
We think. Indeed it is the Monty Show. How the heck are you? It is Thursday, August 26, 2021. And all I can say is there's bats in the belfry. I don't know what is going on. The last 36 hours at Casa de Monte has been an absolute train wreck. I'm just saying. Power outage yesterday. Now an internet outage this morning. We had to
reset the router. And
it's the whole thing, right? Like, it is absolutely the whole thing. But yet here we are. So a pleasure to be with you on Thursday, August 26th. We have a lot to get to today. The shenanigans of yesterday, bro, we'll talk about. Yesterday was one of those days where if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. It was one of those days where I couldn't spend money, and I tried. I desperately tried. Could not get it done. The landscaper thing, the bed, like the $6,000 bed went kind of sideways.
What a joke.
Yesterday was, and then in the middle of the day, I'm talking to somebody at the Yelpatory, and the power went out at my house for 90 minutes.
Dude.
Just out of nowhere, power went out. What the heck is going on? Who are the gremlins?
I don't know.
And somebody come and take them away. Unbelievable.
Dude.
First in, James Knight, and I see everybody tweeting, hey, listen, Bryce, I appreciate you. My guy, obviously, everybody was watching. So on the audio podcast, and those of you just tuning in on YouTube, we had, whatever this catastrophic failure was this morning, we tried to start the show twice today, and it wouldn't fire on YouTube. For whatever reason.
It's ridiculous.
And so we had to stop and start, and people were like, whoa, what's going on? I don't know.
Whoa, what's going on?
I don't know. I have no idea. So it is what it is. We got a lot of quarterbacks to talk about, obviously, with BYU and Utah. We have got this game in San Diego and Los Angeles, the Dodgers and the Padres, that ended about 15 minutes ago. If you're not watching Padre baseball right now, especially in this Dodgers series, you're nuts. It is entertaining baseball. We've got to talk about that. We've got to talk about Trevor Lawrence named the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars, excuse me. Little surprise there, but I want to start with BYU and Utah because finally I feel like we have a little bit of clarity when it comes to the starting quarterback at BYU. Well, we've always known it was going to be Jaren Hall. But the interesting thing is that today is Thursday, and Whit promised us that we would find out what we already know, that Charlie Brewer is the starting quarterback at Utah. And it's finally come to a point where you have these quarterbacks being named because we're a week away from the season. And I got to tell you, Jake, football's back, and we needed it desperately.
Yeah, we needed the entertainment. We needed it back in our life, especially with the meltdowns that happen seemingly on a daily basis at Casa de Monte lately. So it's nice to have football back in the fold. It feels like it's been a little while, and I think that with this whole starting quarterback situation, whether you look at the NFL or you look at BYU and Utah, I think that the dynamic of announcing your starting quarterback is always this game that gets played every single year. And some years, like this year, you already know who it's going to be. With all due respect to, Baylor Romney, he was never going to be the starting quarterback for BYU. It was always going to be Jaren Hall, and I think that a lot of people knew that. And I just think it's funny that we got to wait till a week before the season to know that that's the case. Much like what's happening with the 49ers or any of these other programs. It's just funny to me that, we got to make Trevor Lawrence earn it. We got like Trevor Lawrence hasn't had to earn a damn thing. He was always going to be the starting quarterback. There was never a doubt. Let's not beat around the bush with that. So in terms of who has the better quarterback situation or who's in a better position, I think that's a really interesting question to answer, because I think that question, and the answer to that question, is largely predicated on schedule. If you said, hey, BYU's got a really tough schedule, and they're probably not going to win more than 7 games, then I'm left to say, well, Jaren Hall has got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of work to do to get these guys to a bowl game, which is always the goal for BYU. Whereas if you look at Utah and you look at the Pac-12 and you look at what Charlie Brewer's got to work with, I think the road is probably slightly easier for them. They're also slightly more talented. So who has the better QB situation? I think I probably would rather be BYU, but at the end of the day, we'll kind of see how that plays out in the win-loss column.
Oh, I don't think there's any question that BYU has had more stability. I actually think up on the hill at the U, you had Cam Rising was pushing Charlie Brewer. I don't think there's any doubt. I don't know that the coaching staff at Utah ever had a notion of starting Cam Rising, but I think it's a tip of the cap to Cam, because I truly believe Charlie Brewer had that job won the minute he stepped on the field at spring football. From all accounts, he was unbelievable in the locker room, preparation, meetings. Like, he handled the quarterback situation at Utah like a pro. But when you talk about who's got the better situation, I don't know how you have a better quarterback situation than Utah or BYU. I think it's very close. I'd probably shade to Utah because Cam's got experience as a starter. Remember, he won the job last year before he got injured. But the athletic ability that is in Provo right now in the quarterback room, it is really. It may be the best room they've had in, at least a decade. I don't remember during Broncos' time that BYU ever had a better quarterback situation than they do now. And I think, obviously, with the athlete that Jaren Hall is, he really is the prototypical guy that you want under center calling your plays and running your offense, because he can move, he can help your offensive line, he makes your running backs better. And they actually have a very deep and talented wide receiver core at BYU as well, which makes Jaren Hall better. This offense should be, at BYU, this offense really should be primed to kind of pick up the ball from last year and keep moving it down the field. Like, you feel like there's not going to be much of a step back. Now, don't get me wrong, Zach Wilson was spectacular last year. It's why he was the number 2 pick in the draft. So you're going to have a tough time replicating that kind of success. But I think you have a guy in Jaren Hall who's capable of not filling Zach Wilson's shoes, but creating his own path and being successful as a quarterback on his own, where he doesn't have to live up to the standard, in the very high standard that Zach Wilson set for BYU. So to me, Jake, I think I lean a little bit total quarterback room package ability to win big games. I probably lean a little bit towards Utah, but I don't think BYU has anything bad to feel about.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think the biggest thing here is, like, you're right. Total package, you probably have more overall talent sitting in the Utah room, but I think for BYU, Jaren Hall has a lot of ability. I'm not sitting here saying he's the best quarterback in the nation, certainly, but the guy can run. He can throw it with anybody, and I think that he's ready. And that's the biggest thing to me that BYU faces every single year, even with Zach Wilson. There were times where early on in his time at BYU, you were like, is this guy ready? Is this guy, 100% good to go? And then you saw how quickly he got better and matured and really kind of took over the team. So that's what I'll be looking for in the first couple weeks for BYU. Is Jaren Hall, really leading this team, or is he just kind of the guy playing the position? And the same for Utah. I feel like, with Charlie Brewer, that's one of the things I've always liked about Charlie, is that, coming from Baylor, a big-time program, he's going to have no problem leading the football team. That side of the quarterback position is super important, and Charlie Brewer's not going to have any issue with that, which is why I think for the first time, and I'd have to go digging for the last time Utah had a really solid person at playing quarterback.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt Charlie Brewer's the bar.
I don't know that there's anybody better before him.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're Utah and you're a Utah fan, you should be really excited about winning the South this year. That should be the goal. There shouldn't be any any other bar besides that, and anything less than that to me is just unacceptable.
Well, and I look at Tyler Huntley. That's the guy that comes to mind for me. I mean, obviously he was a dynamic quarterback at Utah, and when you're first team All Pac-12, I mean, you're a really good football player. So don't get me wrong, but I think that Charlie Brewer has the ability. Now, will he do that? I don't know. He has the ability, and he's shown the in-game ability and sense to play at a higher level of football than Tyler Huntley did for Utah.
Yeah.
And if that happens, I think you're in a really good spot. And then again, that's why I turn back to BYU. You're trying to replace arguably the best quarterback that you've had in the modern era of BYU football. Now, did he win a Heisman or a national championship? No, that didn't happen. But when I look at the Taysom Hills of the world, if you look at just the guys who in the last, just from Bronco forward, let's say, you look at those quarterbacks, Zach Wilson's easily the best in that group. And I think now when you look at where Jaren Hall is, he has the opportunity and the athletic ability to surpass that and at least be as good as Zach was. I mean, Zach Wilson had a huge impact on the field. I mean, he was the offense at times.
Yeah.
Is that still what you're going to get? That's a big question.
Yeah.
To me. And I think both for Charlie Brewer at Utah and Jaren Hall at BYU, we need to see these guys on the field doing the job.
Yeah.
And this is no different, by the way, than Keaton Slovis, who probably, SC's never had more expectations with Clay Helton than they have now. And I look at Keaton Slovis, he's got a lot of the load to carry. There's a lot of quarterbacks throughout college football in that spot. It's the guys that you believe can develop those quarterbacks. I don't know that Clay Helton and his staff can do that. I don't know, frankly. Let's see what A-Rod and Kalani can do with Jaren Hall. I mean, that to me, that's a huge question as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, Zach Wilson put a lot of off-field effort into becoming one of the premier quarterbacks in college football. Having said that, Jaren Hall's done the exact same thing, working with John Beck and really trying to become a dynamic, all-around impact player at quarterback. He has the opportunity to do that. He's going to get at least 2 full seasons. If he's successful and stays healthy, he'll get at least 2 full seasons as a starter in Provo. And with this schedule, you would think that they're going to be in some really good television windows based on who they're playing and where they're playing. I think the upside is massive for BYU right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that developmental point you were making about, taking your guy and making him better and really improving his game as the season goes on, I think it's a great point. And I think, the other thing that is interesting with the Charlie Brewer situation is knowing the system and being comfortable in the system and really having that relationship with your wide receivers and your tight ends and your skill position guys. Because, as great as it is, I love the fact that he's coming from Baylor. There's no getting around the fact that this being your first year in the program, there's definitely a learning curve. And so I think for Charlie, it'll be interesting to see, come 10 days from now when you kick off the regular season, what does that first series look like? Is the offense in rhythm? Does Charlie look like he knows what he's doing? Is he comfortable? Are they constantly, one of the telltale signs that quarterbacks are not comfortable and not in sync with the offense is if the play clock is constantly running out.
I'm sorry, did you say the play clock?
No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I just wanted to.
Are you sure?
I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
Because I'm a big fan of the play cock. But
are you?
Anyway, the point is, listen. I think these 2 starting quarterbacks are going to be fabulous. There's no doubt about that. Let's see what the comment section says. Is it going to last this time? Well, we tried. Cody Strickland says, system crashed again. Yeah, it did. Gabe Ledley says, and we're back. Morning, fellas. What's up? Gabe, good to see you. Tanner Plummer says, Arizona is doing a 2 QB system, which means you have no QBs. I am not a fan of that at all. Yeah, exactly. What do you guys think? I'm not a fan of that at all.
No.
Spencer Morgan, what's up, Spence? He says, let's not overstate Cam Rising's experience as a starter. Yeah, that was, A, it was not long last, and B, it was not very good.
Yeah.
If you remember, I mean, he didn't, I don't know that he made it out of the quarter. Cam Rising got hurt. He was done for the year after sputtering a little bit. But, it is what it is. That's why I think Charlie Brewer was such a huge get.
Yeah.
For the Utes. I mean, last year was just incredibly odd with COVID and are we playing? We're not playing. Oh, we're going to play. Okay, cool. And I mean, you never had QB1 up on the hill last year. You didn't. And now I think with Charlie Brewer, you have a guy that you're going to hand the football to. And as long as he's healthy, he's going to be your quarterback. I think the world of the guy, watching his game tape. And I know that, he doesn't have the biggest arm in the world and people at Baylor would tell you that he was just okay. The tape I've seen of him on YouTube and the highlights of him, are pretty good. If you're a Ute fan, you should be excited because they've actually got dynamic talent as well, which you would expect, in a Coach Whittingham team in the Pac-12. But I'm really excited about Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, and I just think that the only question that's left is come, snap one in this first game. What is their starting line? Is their starting line, we're all very comfortable with each other, we all know the system, we all know what we need to do? Or is their starting line, hey, we're going to make some mistakes in the first game where, there's going to be, some turnovers, there's going to be some miscommunication.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does Charlie think, wide receiver one's going left when he should be going right? Like, those are the things that you should be looking for in both of these situations, by the way, because it's not as though Jaren's going to be an expert. We have to see where he's at as well. So those are the things, once you announce your quarterback, whether you're, Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars or you're Jaren Hall or Charlie Brewer, those are the things that I look for. Where's everybody at in cohesiveness? Because that's ultimately, if you think about it, that's ultimately what brings you success in football. Like having the rhythm down, having the timing down. That's how you complete passes. That's how you have a dynamic passing game. So
well, and I look across the Pac-12, and it'll be interesting to see where Charlie Brewer falls in. I mean, is he going to be is he ever going to be a Keaton Slovis? No, I would doubt that. But is he a Dylan Morris? Is he, if you look at, Jayden Delora is an interesting name. Like Jayden Delora, is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country, but you don't know what you have there. Whereas you go down to Berkeley and, you have Chase Garbers and you feel like, now I think Charlie Brewer is better than Chase Garbers, in my opinion. I think he's better. I'd rather have Charlie Brewer than Jayden Daniels. Everybody raves about Jayden Daniels at ASU. And we've seen that firsthand. He's an incredible athlete. He does not strike me as a guy that's going to win you the conference and take you to the promised land. Yeah. I don't. Maybe I'm too critical of him.
I think Jayden Daniels has a lot of development needed physically. I think he's a really small guy in terms of just stature. I don't remember his height, but weight-wise,
he weighs 36 pounds.
Yeah, he's a tiny guy weight-wise. So.
I said he weighs 36 pounds.
Right. Yeah.
With his equipment on.
Right. We get it. He doesn't bench. We understand.
He needs to eat fettuccine. Anyway, I'll stop now. The point is, if I'm Utah, I feel pretty good about my quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that in a league that prides itself on great quarterback play, as the Pac-12 does, and with the hype that is, I think, surrounding guys like Dylan Morris, I think it's going to be interesting to see what Washington has. What about Anthony Brown at Oregon? That's somebody that, there's a lot of people that are really excited about, Oregon's offense, and everybody thinks Oregon's going to win the North, and it's going to be Oregon and Utah, or, frankly, I think there's a lot of hype around a lot of these quarterbacks, and the only guy, in my opinion, that's really proven to be able to do what the hype says he does is Keaton Slovis at SC.
Yeah.
Other than that, we haven't seen a lot of guys, play at the top of their game yet. I just think that, again, Charlie Brewer arguably is the most impactful quarterback transfer in the conference. There is, I think I could make the argument that it's in all of college football. That is, if everything breaks right, and again, when we compare BYU to Utah, which we probably should never do again, but if everything breaks right for Utah, that's a team that's playing for a national championship, right?
Yeah, they were in the conversation, what was that, 2 seasons ago?
Yeah.
Right? So, it's not outlandish to say that. But at the same time, you got to go out and do it. So that's just where you're left.
Yeah, and I think I just think that Jayden Daniels has so much to prove.
I think the whole program does. I mean, all we've ever heard out of this incarnation of Sun Devil football is that this is a great team, and you've brought in a whole new coaching staff and players, and you've done the fundraising and boosters, and everything's awesome. But what have you really done? I mean, nothing.
I mean, the guy, as far as Jayden himself goes, I would agree with that. I think Herm came in with great fanfare. I recall us talking about it at the time that his age was going to be a factor, and he kind of bulletproofed that by hiring some of the hottest recruiting young gun assistant coaches in the game. Sorry, did I wake you? But the point is...
Yeah, I'm tired.
Good morning.
Like, what? What do you want me to say?
The point is... you yawn like every day.
Yeah, I do.
You should go to bed earlier. I'm kidding. We kind of did stay up later last night.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, it's not to derail the conversation, but I'm not running from it. Yeah, I'm tired some mornings, for sure.
Well, we shouldn't have stayed up, and you were at our place till like 9 last night because we were watching Catfish.
Yeah, I had to watch some girl get catfished by some douche from YouTube.
Her name is Diamond, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. EBT baby got trolled by white plastic. All right, cool, dude.
Yeah, why did you? Your first name's Vincent, and you named yourself White Plastic?
Let me get this right. You live in LA, right?
Miami,
LA. Not sure. Don't know.
No, they live in Miami, which is right next to LA, so I understand how you could get.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, some of them said, "Oh, he's in LA," and then other ones are saying, "Oh, he's in Miami." I don't know, dude. Like my biggest takeaway from Catfish, if you all watch Catfish, is like, dude, these people don't have a life. They say they have a life, but do you really have a life if all you're doing is like ruining people's lives?
No. And you enjoy ruining people's
lives.
Yeah. If you don't watch Catfish, you're missing out. I mean, the freak show that are people's lives on that program it's amazing. Anyway, my point on Jayden Daniels is the kid needs to gain some weight, and he needs to learn to do something other than throw explosive passes, because he does. I mean, he goes over the top often. I mean, the guy has got a great arm.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're constantly waiting, for him to develop into a total package of a quarterback. You feel like he's been there since he was 12.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like Jayden Daniels has been at ASU forever.
Is this his junior year or his sophomore year? Does it say?
This would be his junior year. He was a freshman in 2019.
Yeah. Okay. So it's time. I mean, it's time for him to start getting traction and making movement.
Yeah. I mean, he has to continue to limit turnovers, which he's done a decent job of. But he's just not an accurate passer. I mean, that to me is the biggest, hole in his game, is that he has got to complete 65-70% of his passes.
Yeah.
And until he does that,
and the bar on that continues to get raised every single year.
Yeah, and I think that's why Slovis is so head and shoulders above everybody else in the Pac-12 with quarterback play, just because he is. Even last year, and last year was not a great year for anybody, let's be honest, because of the way that they mismanaged the COVID protocols and the scheduling in the Pac-12.
The coronavirus.
I mean, it was really a difficult year, but I think you can rely on Kedon Slovis. I don't know that I can say you can rely on Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
I don't know. And my personal opinion is, like, Dorian Thompson-Robinson at UCLA is an interesting guy. I mean, again, to be under 10 yards per attempt in the Pac-12 is kind of scary.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he is a guy that has the total package. He's just wildly inconsistent.
Isn't that true, though, about Pac-12 football? Doesn't it always seem like, like you're always trying to really push down the field? Yeah, I feel like I can remember, 2 years ago, when Stanford was playing Oregon, and they were just going up and down the field. Like, it was like a 50-point game each, and that's what I feel like some of these Pac-12 games turn into, and that's also why I feel like what makes Utah so different. Utah doesn't typically find themselves in 50-point affairs,
Yeah, but that's Chip Kelly's offense at UCLA too. I mean he's one of those guys that I think they scored 36 points a game last year.
It's a lot, dude.
So, but my point is, you're scoring 36 points a game and your quarterback's under 10 yards, per attempt.
Yeah.
And I mean that for him, 8.6 yards is good.
Yeah.
So you just want to see more development. So anyway, all of this to say, I look at the quarterbacks. I think Charlie Brewer has a chance to be one of the top, 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this conference pretty easily, based on what he showed us at Baylor. I mean, he's a guy that, 63.5% completion last, in his final year in Waco. Like, I mean, he's a guy that can run. Obviously everybody talks about him as a passer. Charlie Brewer is mobile.
Yeah.
22 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty good.
He's got a pretty solid skill set overall. I mean, the last thing you want is a guy at quarterback who's limited, who can't run, who's kind of a statue back there.
Well, you don't start 4 years at Baylor.
Yeah.
Basically 4 years at Baylor. You don't start 4 years at Baylor and not be talented.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's the thing that if you're a Utah fan, that's what you should be excited about. So I'm really excited about it. I think, I think it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays. By the way, everybody agrees with me that you said play cock 100%.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Brylark said Jake 1,000% said play cock.
I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I'm fried.
Gabe Ledley says Jake 100% said play cock.
Gabe, please.
I mean,
sometimes I think I just say shit. Sample what comes out of my mouth.
I mean, there's nobody that likes to play cock more than you. I don't know why you're running from it.
Okay. I have no idea what that was.
Neither do I. Sean Mirzinski says, my sister went to high school with JT. I just don't think he's the right fit at USC. What am I missing? Tanner Plummer says, Arizona State's going to play to win the game. Yes, they are. Josh Lovren says UW has Morris, but their best QB is but I thought Sam Heward starting in Washington? That's what I'm interested to see. I thought that was I don't know what I was reading last night. See, the problem, okay, much like you.
Yeah.
When you read in bed, you don't retain a whole lot.
You're half dreaming.
Like. Yeah.
You're half dreaming.
I don't think so. But we've talked about Sam Heward on this show before.
I want to say that he is. That's what my instinct says, but you've got the good old Google machine over there.
Yeah, I think it is. I think he is their number 2, if I'm not mistaken. I can't sit here and search it now. I'm too distracted, but I'm pretty sure that Sam Heward's their number 2 quarterback, which means that he's one snap away from being their starter, which he likely will be before this season's over. Cody Strickland says, we get enough catfish listening to Jake's love life. Yes, you do.
Yeah, you're damn right you do.
Yes, you do.
You're right.
Josh Lovren said, Utah just gives up 3-score leads to Washington State, though, most every other year it feels like. There is a frustrating game every year for every team. Usually for BYU, it's Utah. Usually for Utah, it is Colorado. Like, they'll win. I mean, how many of us remember going to Stanford and winning? How many remember sweeping Arizona? The USC coming to Rice-Eccles to die. Like, Utah's ready for those big games. It's just you run into a buzzsaw in Washington State. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point, It'll be interesting. No, Josh, okay, let's be very clear.
Yeah.
Sam Heward is not starting at Washington, but my point is, I think before the year's out, he's got a really good chance to be the starter. And when I don't remember what day we were talking about it, but your last name's Heward, you're at Washington, It's a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time. With that lineage and DNA, come on. I think it'll be very interesting. When you run low on the play cock, nobody wins.
I mean, that's a great point. That's a great point.
That's exactly right. Great move by LSU enforcing vax protocols. How do you guys feel about this? This to me is really interesting. Basically, most stadiums now are saying if you want to get into a game, you're going to have to prove that you're vaccinated. And for me, I mean, basically they're saying you have to have a PCR test that's negative within the last 72 hours, or you have to be fully vaccinated.
It's an antibody cocktail.
Do you like that? I think it's
brilliant.
It's mandatory.
It's what needs to be done. I just think that at the end of the day, one way or the other, everyone's getting a vaccine. And if you're going to continue to not get a vaccine, you're not going to work. Or if you are working, you're going to pay an exorbitant amount for health insurance, which is going to force you into getting the vaccine, so you don't have to pay $300 more than you typically would, because I don't think people can afford that. And I also think that all these NFL players who don't want to get vaccinations, they're not going to be playing. I mean, teams can't take the risk. You're not. The NFL doesn't play, man. The NFL is.
It's a $1 billion business, man.
And we're not letting Cole Beasley derail the entire NFL season. So with all due respect to Cole Beasley, you can sit your ass down. I mean, that's just how it is.
Well, he is actually currently at the moment. I believe he is sitting his ass down because he's on quarantine for 5 days.
Poor Cole Beasley.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, this is a serious deal, and the NFL in college football lost so much money last year. Now, I'm not saying they're poor, but when you're in a $1 billion industry, you lose $1, you're that's a lot of money.
Yep.
And I just don't think you can take the risk. And I think you're looking at players that are unvaccinated. The Cole Beasleys of the world are going to wind up on the inactive list every week, because you have to understand that if you forfeit a game because you have a player test positive, and then you have to quarantine and contact trace, and if that's why you can't play a game on Sunday, you lose that game automatically, period. No questions asked.
Which is how it should be.
In a team like Buffalo that is in a very competitive AFC and really the AFC East, I think one game is the reason you win a division or not, or make the playoffs or not. Or I think this is absolutely the right move.
Yeah.
And when you talk about fans coming to a stadium, just go back to Milwaukee the Deer Pen or whatever the hell they're calling it.
It's Deer Valley, please. The Deer Pen.
Hey, everybody, come watch Janice ante your mama in the Deer Valley Pen and get COVID. Because there's no doubt now that the Milwaukee Bucks, all those Deer Valley fans, it turned into a super spreader event. Who knew? Well, we did. We talked about it. Because you can't trust the man next to you to be vaccinated. And I think that when you're talking about sports, there's so much money on the line that you have no choice but to have vax mandates. This is the Ron DeSantis thing in Florida.
Yeah.
And for those of you who hate Ron DeSantis the way I do, I meant to say for those of you who follow the news the way that I do, I hate Ron DeSantis. But Ron DeSantis essentially yesterday dodged questions after ripping the school board. So again, he was doing, one of his tours and come get my friend's, pneumococcal candy dick thing. Come get this treatment, Regeneron, and my friend's stock will go up, and wear masks in schools because those schools don't know what they're doing. And he just goes on and on about how there's no data to support it and there will be repercussions against schools. And then when he was asked what the repercussions would be, he refused to answer it.
You mentioned additional consequences. What do you
Anyone else who hasn't had a chance to ask? Yes, ma'am.
I haven't asked one yet.
One more.
Additional consequences for schools.
We'll see you guys soon. We'll take care.
School, you brought it up, Governor. It's fair game. Additional consequences. What are they for the schools?
And then he just walked out. So he talked about how there will be additional consequences for schools that don't, that mandate masks. So in Florida, if you have a mask mandate for a school, which now there are a ton of school districts in Florida who have mask mandates in place, Ron DeSantis is saying if you put a mask mandate in place against my policy, there will be consequences.
Like what?
All right, thanks. So like when he was asked what those consequences would be, he wouldn't answer the question because he has really no teeth to go and get the school districts. And this is a guy that most Republicans think is their number one candidate in 2024 to be president. I'm amazed by this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And when you talk about, the biggest cocktail party in the world in Jacksonville every fall, you talk about, LSU and Alabama and Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
The Iron Bowl, the Holy War.
Some of our greatest memories ever.
The Apple Cup, which is between Texas and Auburn, I think you said the other day.
That's how today's show is going to be. Man, wow.
When you have Oregon State, when you have Washington State, when you have all these great rivalries where stadiums are packed and people are excited and you're either vaccinated or you can't be there. And if that's a problem for you, don't show up. Because we're seeing that the Gulf Coast in Mississippi, which is Republican, Trump, conservative country, 38% of people on the Gulf Coast are vaccinated.
Yep.
Only 38%. So do you want to go sit in a packed stadium with those people? I do not. And the problem is we have a lack of leadership in this country.
Yes.
So Cody Strickland says Delta bumping up $200 insurance per month. Soon all insurance will do it. Might as well get the shot now. Even FDA approved it.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines is charging a $200 insurance premium for any employee who will not get vaccinated.
Yep.
So every month, Delta's going to hit you for $200. Delta Airlines. If you're an employee at Delta and you're not vaccinated, they're taking $200 from you. And I say that's smart. They have billions of dollars on the line. And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah, and you're risking thousands of people's lives.
I don't think, and I don't know, but I don't even know who the CEO at Delta Airlines is, but I guarantee you, he doesn't care if you want to get vaccinated. He wants to make money for Delta. That's the bottom line. I don't think Roger Goodell cares if you're anti-vax or not. He wants the NFL and its owners to make billions of dollars this year.
It's his job.
So you're going to get vaccinated. And this is the thing that's amazing to me is the people that fight it. The people dying in ICU beds are unvaccinated. And they're overwhelmingly in Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama. You're in places where, you had a historically conservative voter turnout that went for Donald Trump, and you're all unvaccinated.
Yeah, and the numbers aren't close. It's not like, it's 53% of people in hospitals are unvaccinated. It's 99%, dude. Like, it's not in question.
And what the numbers you're referring to are people on ventilators.
Bro, it's terrible.
It's shocking. It's not funny. I chuckle because it's mind-blowing. 98% of people on ventilators for COVID are unvaccinated.
Yeah.
That's staggering. It's staggering. And the thing that's amazing is, I saw a video on TikTok yesterday of this conspiracy theory woman.
Yeah.
Who was like, well, look, they have all of these variants in their names, and when they're going to come out, it's a government operation. And it's like, no, that's called projecting. They're projecting based on the number of people that are unvaccinated in the country and around the world. They're projecting these are how many variants, and these are the timelines that we should see them in.
Yeah.
So that they can ramp and have Regeneron or vaccines.
Yeah.
Booster shots. Did you guys see the Michigan judgment yesterday on the Kraken lawyers for Trump? The lawsuits in Michigan to overturn the election.
We're still talking about overturning an election.
Well, the funny thing is, this is the first time I saw a great article on this, and this is the right way to put it. Usually when somebody's like, oh, stop the steal, asshole, like they're just going at it, right? What do we do with those people? Come on. Go away. So what did this judge in Michigan do? The judge in Michigan did not just wave them off. She took every allegation in every lawsuit filed in Michigan deadly serious. She investigated them. She took the evidence that Lynn Wood and these idiot attorneys provided to the court, and she weighed every allegation that was put forward in those lawsuits to overturn the election and the evidence that was provided to support those lawsuits. Oh, people got mail-in ballots and then they came in and voted in person. That's against the law. We overturned the election.
Infowars.com.
She writes in the answer, well, yeah, that's true. People did get mail-in ballots and they did vote in person. And that's exactly how the law is written for them in Michigan. They're allowed to get mail-in ballots, and then they show up in Michigan voting booths if they want to. Now, they can't submit 2 ballots, and nobody did. But if they want to mail it in, they can do that. And then another allegation. Oh, my God, these people, they got mail-in ballots, and they weren't postmarked. Overturn the election. And she writes right in the answer. Well, yeah, that's true. That happened. They didn't mail their ballots in. And they still counted those ballots because, according to Michigan law, when you get a mail-in ballot, you can come and drop it off in person. So there would be no postmark because you didn't use the post service. You dropped it off in person. So she went like down the list. And she is now saying she ruled obviously against them.
Yeah.
And she is saying that they purposefully put forward a false case they knew they could not prove. And she is recommending disbarment for, I think it's 13 attorneys related to all the lawsuits in Michigan, including Lynn Wood.
That's heat, dude.
She is recommending disbarment. She took their case very seriously. Wrote, I think it's hundreds of pages.
Mm-hmm.
Go and read it. It's not hard to find online. It's an amazing ruling. Anyway, Gabe Levy says my employer has always had discounts, wellness and higher non-wellness insurance rates for employees. Put COVID vax under the wellness rate umbrella and call it a day. Exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right.
Yep.
I agree with that. You know the funny thing is at Yelp, they pay you a full 24-hour day off. They'll give you a free day off to go and get vaccinated.
Yep.
And if you need 2 days to get vaccinated, they'll give you 2 days off to get vaccinated for your first shot and your second shot. And then, because some people don't feel well, like on the Pfizer vaccine, I felt like shit for a day after.
Yeah, you just get crushed, yeah.
Yelp gives you a wellness day with that day off. So you get 1 day off to get the vaccine and another day off to recover. Companies are smart. They need their employees working. And not that I'm being braggadocious. It's fact. And, Joycock over here will back me up on
Joycock.
whatever you said. Or Playcock. That's right. You like Playcocks. Anyway, the point is, I'm a top producer at Yelp.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is.
Last month in Phoenix, Jake, who was the top producer for the entire Western region?
You were.
That'd be me. Mm-hmm. Who's leading the Western region in production right now for August?
You're last.
That'd be me. So if I'm sick and I get COVID and I can't work, what does that do for Yelp? Knocks out one of their top producers. So they pay me to go get the vaccine, and they pay me to recover from it.
I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
It's amazing. And some people say that's not the right thing to do. I'll never understand it. I will never understand it. What's the story with your New York bench, Monty? New workbench?
What?
Oh, my bed. Get it? Workbench? Playcock.
Anyway. Got it. Did you break the bet in last night?
We'll talk about it in a minute. Cody Strickland says, at least I'll get 3 days with pay per shot, so $1,800 payout won't be too bad. Okay. I just think I think it's interesting. Some of the other commenters are saying that it's a bias against people for not wanting to get vaccinated. But what do you expect?
What is your bias?
What do you expect the Pac-12, the NFL, NBA? What do you expect the Utah Jazz to do when they're trying to put 18 to 20,000 people in a building because that's how they make their money? What do you expect them to do?
So let me ask this question. So if you're so against, the COVID-19 vaccine, why is it that you're not against any of the other vaccines we take as human beings? I mean, we all get shots, polio, all the other, shots that we get are all vaccines. Yet you don't want to take a COVID-19 vaccine that's now FDA approved.
Yeah. Like fully FDA approved.
So there's not really a conversation here. It's not biased against you. It's you limiting yourself and putting a bunch of people at risk. That's what it is. And I don't mean to be harsh or mean, but that's just the reality of the situation. Yeah. There's no more, it's not approved by the government and they just rolled this out and there's microchips in it and none of that. That's all garbage, dude. None of that is true. It is FDA approved, fully backed by the government. It's good. It's good.
All right, let's talk ESPN. Can we please?
Yeah.
So, ESPN, the four-letter network. First of all, let's talk about where you get sports from.
Yeah.
What's your go-to sports outlet? Like, if you need to know something about sports, where are you going?
Well, firstly, I'm going to Twitter, number one. But then secondly, ESPN. Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't claim to spend a ton of time on the ESPN app, but like if I want to check a score, or if I want to see, like, as an example, hey, what time does Jazz play tonight? What time is this on? What time is that on? What's the NBA schedule tonight, or what's the NFL schedule, or just those general questions. I go to ESPN. I don't have the Fox Sports app on my phone. I don't have the NBC Sports app on my phone.
Can I tell you straight away, I don't consume any Fox Sports products. I haven't listened to Cowherd in months.
Yeah.
I just don't consume their product. Outside of the NFL on TV, I don't go to their web products, their digital stuff. I don't follow them on Twitter. They're just not. When it was Fox Sports News, candidly, I worked there when it was the National Sports Report and, The Last Word with Jim Rome. Like, that's when Fox Sports was a news organization.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. Where I get my sports from, number one, ESPN, and I follow a ton of ESPN people obviously Wojbaum, Schefter, Louis Riddick, Bobby Marks.
Let me ask this then. If you're getting your news on Twitter through ESPN guys,
yes,
is that then you got your news from ESPN?
I think so. Yeah. Okay. I mean, if I don't think there's any doubt. Now, I get that through Twitter most times, but candidly, we have ESPN on in the background every day.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time consuming their content. ESPN's the best in the world. They're by far the best at what they do.
Yeah.
But you occasionally have these situations where people like Rachel Nichols leave laptops open after a meeting, and she rails against all kinds of discriminatory beliefs. And yesterday, ESPN made the decision to cancel The Jump, which was Rachel Nichols hosted The Jump. It's a daily basketball show that, frankly, I watched a lot. Whether it was Paul Pierce or Kendrick Perkins, like whoever you want, she had on with them, Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
That show was enjoyable for me to watch. But I got to be completely frank with you. When the Rachel Nichols thing happened with Maria Taylor, I lost a lot of respect for Rachel Nichols. I did not look at her the same. And as a passionate basketball fan, Maria Taylor being on the NBA broadcast was, I thought, justified.
She's phenomenal at what she does.
And now she does it for NBC. And that's disappointing to me because I don't watch NBC. Frankly, I think the only thing I watch NBC Sports for is the Premier League. And it's frustrating to me that now we lose a great talent like Maria Taylor through no fault of ESPN's, by the way, because you had somebody in Rachel Nichols that acted incredibly irresponsibly.
Yeah.
And yesterday she paid probably with her job. Now, she didn't get fired from ESPN. Reports say that they're still paying her. She's just not being utilized on television anymore. And it'll be interesting to see what happens to her because Rachel's talented. It's just unfortunate when, your ego gets on top of your talent.
Yeah.
And I think we saw that happen with a lot of guys. But when we're talking about where you get your sports news from, it's ESPN, whether that's on TV. I listen to ESPN radio during the day. Whether that is Twitter, I follow almost all of their guys on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Mike Greenberg fan. I like Greeny a lot.
They're definitely the leader. That's just the truth. It's not close. CBS Sports is not close. Fox, as you were just saying, is not close. NBC is not close. It's ESPN is a king. Whether you like them or hate them, it's just a fact of the case.
And ESPN takes a lot of heat. And when we lived in Arizona, it was I'll never watch ESPN until they apologize. And then Sean Miller got fired. So what are we apologizing for? You look at stuff like that, ESPN is very, very rarely wrong when it comes to hey, NCAA investigation or Woj bombs or Schefter bombs, or they're the top of the mountain for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at the sports landscape, I got to be honest with you, it's becoming more and more difficult to properly prepare for the show without making sure that you know what's going on at ESPN. Because on the blogosphere, you look at like The Spun or Clutch Points or Bro Bible, TMZ Sports, so I can see, Devin Booker on a boat in Italy with a chick and a hot thong, Kendall Jenner. There are places you can go, but when I need it and I need it to be right, I go to ESPN.
Yeah.
Now, outside of ESPN, again, like Larry Brown Sports, Larry Brown's always got the biggest topics in sports.
Pro Football Talk, which is an NBC
for NFL,
product.
Yeah, for NFL, absolutely. I think I use Pro Football Talk every day.
What do you think about what about Bleacher Report? Where does Bleacher Report fall amongst this conversation?
Not high. I think if you have the Bleacher Report app, it works for highlights. It works for like soccer, specifically Premier League soccer. I get a lot of Premier League news from Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
Bleacher Report and Twitter. And I'm a huge Premier League fan. I'm Chelsea football forever blue. I get most of that news from Bleacher Report. Outside of that, that's about it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other places, and there just really isn't like other places.
There's not.
It's just not how it works.
CBS is trying.
Well, and actually, let's say this too. Like, I don't look at KSL Sports. I don't look at anything local.
Locally, but the problem locally, we're a dumpster fire. In Utah, there's not. KSLSports.com, I look at every day. But again, where do I get my local news? If I want BYU, I follow Mitch Harper on Twitter.
Yep.
Right. If I want the Jazz, I follow Tony Jones and Ben Anderson on Twitter.
Yep.
If I'm tuning in, by the way, if I listen to local radio, it's ESPN 700. I mean, I don't get to listen to a lot of local in the car because I'm not in the car very often anymore. So during the day, I listen back to our podcast every day so I can tell how crappy we are.
Thanks for your vote of confidence.
Little self-deprecating humor there, kids. But I listen to Joe Rogan. I listen to, on the radio. I try to listen to Spence Checketts every day. I can do that 3 days a week, maybe. That's the only thing locally I listen to.
Yeah.
If we're being really honest. I occasionally will catch David Locke's podcast, but again, that's during this season only. There's just not a lot to, locally here in Salt Lake City, we need a powerhouse sports talk station. And you know what? I would love to do that. I just don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
I really don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
I would love to do it. I think there is a true lack of a real objective, independent sports talk radio station in Utah.
Yeah, no bias, just straight up.
And we had it at KFan, but the problem was Cumulus was going through a very difficult time financially at that point. So KFan wound up going away. But I just think it is a real difficult thing right now in Utah to get unbiased sports talk. Like there's no good, with all due respect to DJ and PK, there's not a lot of good sports talk in the morning that's compelling.
Yeah. And that to me is the word that really, and I would love to hear this in the comments, but I think the word compelling and actually interesting conversations about, anything local, whether it's Utah, BYU, the Jazz, whatever it is, there's not real engaging, entertaining, fresh take every single day conversation.
No.
I think it tends, and this is something that I think the industry nationwide struggles with. I think the conversations tend to get stale. I think much like Rachel Nichols, I think people get very comfortable in their role. I think that they don't appreciate the position that they're in, and that's why we always tell you guys we really appreciate you being here and listening every day, because without you guys we wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, we could do it, but obviously the show wouldn't be the same without comment dumps and and all the stuff that goes on in the comments. So I just think that for whether you're in Phoenix, because I think it's brutal in Phoenix. It's frankly it's worse there than it is here in my opinion. Or you're here. You're not getting that that compelling damn, I got to listen every day because I know I'm getting the goods.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that I just don't know where ESPN's interesting because where is radio and TV and sports going?
Nowhere good, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be negative, but I don't know where it's going.
And I totally disagree with that. I think spoken word, talk radio is a powerhouse. And when it's done right and you have the money to do it right, but what does that mean? The real issue is that you need millions to just get off the ground, I feel like. And I don't know how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at where sports talk radio in Salt Lake is, it's not anywhere good. And, I under 1280 and 97.5 The Zone, which is the local juggernaut here in Salt Lake. I mean, they have, obviously, the Utah Jazz. But there is so much bias in their opinion.
Yeah.
Because they're owned by the Jazz. I get it. I don't knock them for that.
Yeah.
And I look at DJ and PK, I don't relate to them. I mean, I think, PK's they're both really talented guys.
Yeah.
But their speed is much slower. Their lifestyles are completely different because of the age gap. So I have trouble relating to them. That's why I listen to Spence Checketts. I relate to Spence. He's married. He's got kids. He's a guy. Now he's a gazillionaire because of his family and his business ventures. But I can relate to Spence. Frankly, his alcoholism makes him relatable. But if I flip Gordon Monson, how am I going to relate to Gordon Monson?
Right.
There's no way for me.
How are you going to relate to him? How am I going to relate to him?
There's no way. Well, that's a great point.
And so this is the thing, with all due respect to you, the age bracket that radio is looking for is, 25 to 54. And really, ideally, it's 25 to 48. That is the age demo that sports talk radio gets after.
And he's on with Jake, and Jake is fantastic.
Yeah.
I really but I can't. Gordon Monson feels like he's 100 years old to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I understand who he is and the historical perspective he brings. But look at Hans Olsen, for instance. I think Hans Olsen is a guy that lacks credibility outside of football.
Yeah.
One of the things that I struggle with Hans is I just don't think he's very good talking Jazz basketball. And it's hard for me to listen to. Now, if you want to talk football, I like listening to Hans talk football. I really do. This time of year is great to listen
Prime
to
time.
Scotty G and Hans Olsen. In basketball, I can't do it. I can't. And I always said this about Gunther. There's no better football analyst, and I don't know what Gunther's doing now. Kyle Gunther is the most talented football analyst I have ever worked around. But I couldn't listen to him talk about the Jazz. So at KFan, we put Ben Anderson and Kyle Gunther together because Ben is, at that time, I thought was the best basketball guy in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And I think he's arguably still that. But him and Gunther together, you had the best football and the best basketball. And that's why they were rated number one most of the time when they were on. It just is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
That now you don't have that.
Well, and as a listener, so this is where I always go with this conversation. As a listener, what kind of position does that put you in? Because you want to listen to a local show. You want that. We all want that. But when you don't have a quality local show to go to, what are you forced to do? Well, what's on ESPN or when is Rome on? Or
let me flip on the Dan Patrick show on ESPN 700 because it's far more compelling than anything local.
But even for me, I used to love Dan Patrick. He feels super old to me now.
Yes.
I do not relate to Dan Patrick on any level, dude. He is a prior generation. So that's my biggest, when you say, hey, where's the industry going? Who's the next big young name in the industry? Who's the next? Who's next?
You. It should be
like,
you.
And that's what I'm saying. Like it for the life of me, I can't understand why in the industry there's like this acceptance of, well, this is how we're doing it, so this is how we're just always going to do it.
Yeah.
Like I just can't understand that. Like there's, to me, the real crux of the situation in Salt Lake is they're vulnerable. Everybody in Salt Lake who's on the radio right now is vulnerable. There's a massive opportunity to come into the market, do a dynamic show in morning drive, and take over the place. And nobody will take that risk. Nobody will do it.
I think people will do it. It's just a matter of finding the people with the wherewithal to do it. And that to me is one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest question marks. So
what are the people saying?
Spencer Morgan says, I really have missed the K-Fan morning content. It was far superior. DJ and PK is such a step down. They don't do homework and rehash the same shtick. Yeah, the problem is the other thing is the way that the Utah sports schedule works. You have a pretty extensive dark period where you don't have Jazz basketball or Utah or BYU football. So you can't be scared to branch off of that and talk about other things, life topics, or, like, again, one of the things that I think was so compelling about Spence Checketts this year is he had his dad on. And I thought that was a really good conversation.
Brilliant.
Dave Checketts is a stud, like, in his sports life. I mean, it was really important to talk to him. So you can't be scared to do that. Nobody here will do that. DJ and PK, I have a lot of respect for them. I think their fastball's gone. Rip Will Smith. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
That's one of the most painful conversations of my life. About 3 months after I left KFAM, Will Smith and I had a huge fight. And he was really upset that I left. Because I can't remember who they brought in. They brought in another guy named Tim after me. And he said it was just a disaster. It was an epic failure. Their lives sucked. It was really frustrating. And so we didn't talk for 6 months. And then about a year before he died, Will Smith passed away. Him and I talked on a regular basis. We texted almost all the time. And, we were talking about, Will, before he passed, had a child. And he had a really difficult relationship. And we were texting. And then we didn't talk for about a month. And that's when he passed away. And it just was crushing to me. And so when I think about our time at KFAN, and this is the hard part about, like, Ben Wilson. A lot of people ask me what Napoleon's doing. I have no idea. We don't communicate. I follow him on Twitter, but we don't communicate. The funny thing is, when we were going to Jazz games this year, like, the people in the media were like, oh, that's Monty and Jake. Like, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I think that, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'll be happy to be told that I'm an idiot on this by all the people listening, but I think the reason that happened to us, because it was noticeable, like, it was like tangible when we went to Jazz games that would happen. And I think the reason for that is because we're in the luxurious position on this podcast where we're not owned by the Jazz. We're not at KSL. We're not, we don't have to live by any kind of standard except our own. And I think that mantra and, like, way of going about it is what makes great conversation. It's what makes a show special, because we can come in here and tell you that Rudy Gobert is a one-dimensional player, and that's going to go ahead and piss you off to the point where you're going to share your opinion, and now we're having this dynamic conversation, and now everything is going exactly where you want it to go. And I don't feel like in this town anybody's going to say that. With all due respect, I love Tony Jones. I don't think Tony Jones is going to say that Rudy's a one-dimensional player.
Well, what's really interesting is that sitting here talking to Ace on Instagram, I did not know this about Ace. He said, Will Smith and I were very close friends. We grew up together. It's the only reason I know you. I miss that man every day. I miss your show every day. It's why I'm here. The frustrating thing is that you guys don't spin And it's it's odd that he just said, yes, Jake, you guys rip Rudy Gobert, but you actually have something behind it, and I appreciate that. The other stations won't rip him or anybody else because they're scared of what the team will say.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ace.
That's real.
Yeah, Ace, I appreciate you. I had no idea that you were friends with Will Smith. Frankly, you're still an idiot for your sports takes, but, you know.
Do you want to set up the meeting?
He ended that message by saying, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot about sports. But, you know, that morning show.
It was special.
It was special. And we did not appreciate it at the time. And if I could go back and do it again, I would absolutely do everything different. I just would appreciate it every day. And I just miss Will Smith all the time. And I talked to his sister, Michelle. They have a fundraiser coming up for Will. But I just miss that guy. You know, like we have these K-Fan blender bottles that we gave away. And Will played a big part in that. And so every time I use one of those blender bottles, I think about his laugh and his braces and his theme song of bands that make her dance. Like, I mean,
he's a great guy.
I miss that way of radio.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it'll ever come back. I would love to. Hey, if anybody's got millions, call me, DM me. Like, we could do it. Let's put something together.
Yeah.
I just don't know anybody here that has the money and the wherewithal to do it, because it's going to take 3 years to make a lot of money on it. You know, it just is. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Man, we had so many good times.
Yeah, dude.
We shaved Ben Napoleon Wilson's head once. Him and Will Smith used to wrestle in the studio every morning. When Periscope first was a big deal, we used to do a post-show Periscope. We went to Red Iguana. One of the best memories I have is they took me to Red Iguana for the first time that I had ever been there. And Will Smith and Ben Wilson took me to Red Iguana, the original Red Iguana. And they challenged me to eat a really hot pepper. And I said, I won't do it, but I'll give whoever does it at this table $50. And so they both, the agreement was you had to eat the pepper, one bite of this pepper, and it was incredibly hot.
Yeah.
And you could not drink anything for 60 seconds afterward.
Oh, my God.
And so they ordered 2 glasses of milk. And Will Smith immediately caved. Bit the pepper. Whatever, it exploded in his mouth. He was out. He drank the milk, and he was fine. Napoleon just was crying, like holding up. Like Napoleon was never going to give in until he gave in. And so I bought their lunch, and it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah.
But I just have so many memories like that.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time we met Casey Finlinson.
Yeah.
You know, it was at, I want to say, and I don't know if Casey's on the show today or not. But I think it was the morning of BYU Media Day in 2015.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we have so many, like the Papa Shot for lotto tickets.
Yeah.
I would drive I had a great general manager in a guy named Terry Mathis. And Terry would give us money to go drive to Idaho and get lottery tickets. So Will Smith and I, oh my God. Fucking right. Will Smith and I would get those big bottles of Diet Mountain Dew, and we would each get a bag of donuts. We would drive to Idaho, eat the donuts, drink the Mountain Dew, get the lottery tickets, and I would usually get water. He would get a sugar-free Rockstar, and we would drive home because it was in like the middle of the day. And so we were always tired. We were exhausted. So you're trying to make it back from Idaho after you've sugar rushed donuts and Diet Mountain Dew.
Classic, dude.
Yeah, I mean, amazing.
What are the comments got? What are the comments saying?
Let's see. Okay. Spencer Morgan says, yeah, I really have missed. Okay, I read that one. Sorry. Tanner Plummer says, I consider the Monty Show a powerhouse in the state of Utah. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Spencer Morgan says, the midday show with Hans and Scotty on 1280 is the only content I regularly enjoy. I really like Scotty G. I think a lot of people ask me if I hate him. I don't know Scotty G at all.
Why would people think you hate him?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't dislike him. What they have at 1280 is very special. And my guess is they appreciate that. I mean, you are the go-to for sports in a major market like Salt Lake City. I'm telling you, And Scotty G's done a great job. He's been there forever. Like, the guy's built that thing.
Yeah.
We need more Gunther football analysts on the radio. Gunther and Ben were great together. They were.
Yep.
The problem was that Gunther just was really difficult to manage. Being his program director was hellacious. And everybody knows the story about going to Pac-12 Media Day. 2014? What's that, 2014?
I don't remember.
2014, we all flew down to Los Angeles to go to Pac-12 Media Day. And Gunther and Ben got in very late at night. And Brian Swinney, oh my God, Brian Swinney, I hope he's all right. I haven't heard from him in ages. But Brian Swinney was with us, and we rented an Airbnb so that we could all have a house to stay at close to Media Day. But like, Gunther showed up, and he was crazy, like threatening to, beat everybody up and just like nuts. Like, we had to put him on an airplane back home the next morning at 5 a.m. That's what life with Gunther was like. He was amazing on the radio, and you just didn't ever want to see him off the radio. It was really difficult to deal with. So that's, that was kind of the bummer there. Jeremy Bolton says, I miss listening to Gunther. And I agree. Hans and Scotty are the only ones I've listened to.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
Brylark says, please never sell the rights to this show. We won't. Jeremy Bolton says, yeah, I miss listening to Will too. The best part of 1320, Casey Finlinson says, was you as hosts made us listeners feel like we were part of it and you weren't talking down to us. That was something we worked very hard on. We talked about that every single day. How are we going to get the listeners involved? What's the perspective? Because we had the 1320 Max Muscle text line.
Dude, the text line is lit.
Yeah, that was awesome. Adler Harris says, I like listening to you guys because it doesn't seem biased one way or the other for Utah or BYU. It seems like you guys give both teams a fair shot. Yeah, we do. That's kind of what we do. Casey says, the first person to come give me a hug when I came to say hello, comment dump, to you guys in the village in Provo was big man Will. It was like I just saw a long-lost friend. That's how he was. Will Smith was...
down to earth, dude.
He was great. He was really good.
What's the saying? Salt of the earth?
Yeah, he was absolutely salt of the earth. Just addiction's terrible, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Will Smith passed from a fentanyl overdose. And that's not a secret. I'm not airing anybody's dirty laundry. I think everybody knows that. Just brutal. The guy was, the thing that hurts me most about Will was that he was never at rest. Like, he was constantly battling. He battled the church. He battled his family about the church.
Yeah.
It was a constant battle for that guy. And everybody deserves to have peace. You know what I mean? Like, we all deserve to be tranquil and enjoy our lives. So, anyway, all right, before we get out of here, because we got to go here, couple other things. Yesterday was a disaster at Casa de Monte. So we weren't sure if the landscaper was going to show up.
Okay.
So I'm in my morning meeting, and I have an appointment, and, then all of a sudden, there was a knock at the back door, unannounced. My dogs explode.
And it's going to go into crisis lockdown mode here at the house.
I got to get off this call. Unbelievable. The landscaper comes. My wife completely changed her mind on what she wanted in the backyard. I'm kidding.
I don't give a big
We actually changed the plan with the landscaper. So he does his work, and then they just leave, and all their equipment's still in our backyard. They just left. Okay, I hope you're coming back today. Okay, that's fine. And then the power goes out.
Uh-oh.
Major power outage. I think it was 90 minutes or so, maybe probably less than that.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the day, I'm on another call trying to make it happen at Yelp. Power goes out. Well, of course, so the bed guy shows up with my $6,000 bed right on time.
Okay.
He admittedly, he says, yeah, I've never set one of these up before. So he sets it up, and we wind up, I paid for them to take our mattress away. They didn't take it away.
Why?
They couldn't.
Why?
Well, A, they only had a Sprinter van. And B, he said, I called my boss. He said, we're not allowed to do that. We don't take them anymore.
When did you pay for this bed?
I don't know. What, a month ago? I guess now? A month ago.
So wait, only a month ago they could do it. Now they can't do it?
I don't know.
What the hell?
It's a service that sets up beds. That's what they do. But unlike Bowflex, when the Bowflex guy came out, all he did was set up Bowflexes and build them.
Yeah.
These guys had never seen our bed before. So our room was a mess after they left. We had to move our bed and our bed frame. And, we bought the bed because one of the reasons is it would fit inside of our current bedroom set. No.
Which it didn't.
We had to take it completely apart. They left our room a complete mess. They didn't set the bed up right. So the air compressor that fills like the mattresses with air was on my nightstand. So I'm ready to go to bed. I'm crabby as F when I go to bed finally. Mrs. Monty's trying to figure out how to move this thing and reset it back up because it's not as simple as unplugging it and turning it. And then you go to bed and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, it's a brand new bed that's got air chambers in it. How am I going to sleep on this bed? Oh, we don't have sheets for the new bed because it's a split top mattress, a flex head mattress. So they require special sheets. Call around, nobody's got them except one store, a Sleep Number store. All right, cool. How many sets do you have? 2. California King. Okay, we'll take them both. How much is that going to be? $692, please.
My fucking ass.
What?
I said, wait, are these gold sheets?
What?
And he's like, well, wait, actually, because you already have a Sleep Number account, I didn't buy a Sleep Number bed. You already have a Sleep Number account, I can give you a discount. We'll make it $500-something.
What?
So, of course, I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Gave him my Amex. Everything was good. And I said, so what's so special about these sheets, by the way? He's like, oh, they're made of bamboo. They're really nice sheets.
Dude, wow. Bro.
What choice that I get? Okay, do I have a $6,000 bed? Wow. You think I'm going to sleep on that without sheets?
Spinal.
Wow.
Right?
Wow,
so,
dude.
You can't do that.
Bro,
So,
you just made a car payment for bed sheets.
I did.
Bro.
I did. But I got to tell you, they softed in titties, man. Comfortable sheets. They're really comfortable sheets. And they're made of like bamboo fiber.
Oh my God.
But
dude.
you want to know about these sheets? You want to know why they're $500-something? They come with instructions. I kid you not.
You've thrown our budget a little out of whack.
Yeah, these spacecraft alien sheets came with instructions. Now, they were really easy to put on. My wife's like, oh, yeah, because the bed is split top. This is who I'm married to. The bed is split top, right? So there's a wedge down the middle of the bed.
Right, so it can flex.
She's tucking she's tucking the sheets in. And she's like, yeah, I got to tuck them in the bed's vagina.
That's every day.
I am such a terrible influence on my wife. But you have to use the instructions to put these sheets on.
Unreal, dude. Unreal. So wait, just to clarify, you're into this bed now for like what?
7 G's.
7,000.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna have to buy a new bed, like set or
Bedroom
whatever.
set, which is probably going to be $3,000 more.
Okay.
We're into this new bed for like 10 G's.
All right, so that's 10 G's. Now let's talk about your wheels. Let's get to the wheels.
Do we have to? Thanks for killing my buzz. Okay, so because, well, why not just burn all of my money? Okay, so this goes back 2 weeks. My brakes are squeaking. I knew I needed to get brakes done on the Audi.
Okay.
It was $1,100 or $1,200 out the door.
At the dealer.
Yes. So I said, okay, well, let's upgrade the rotors and pads. So I get slotted and drilled rotors. Last weekend, I go to have some dude named Dylan with long hair who smokes weed. I go to have him. It's true. I go to his house up off a foothill, right by the U. And he's like, all right, cool, man, let's do this, brah. I'm like, okay. He's got like 1,000 horsepower Subaru in his garage. We're good. He goes to take the wheels off my car. There's a locking lug nut on there. Do you think there's a key in the trunk? There's not.
A motherfucking,
So I can't do it last Saturday. So I call Audi. We go through it. Yesterday, the guy comes out to the house from Audi.
Yeah.
Drives all the way from downtown to my house. He's taking off the locking lugs. And he's like, yeah, the funny thing about these locking lugs, nobody ever has the key. You know, it's probably sitting in somebody's tool chest wherever this car came from, and it's San Diego. I'm like, yeah, this is a San Diego car. He goes, yeah, I guarantee you the lug you're supposed to have to get these locks off, it's in some guy's garage in San Diego. I'm like, thanks, man, because it's $290-something to get a new one.
And you had to pay for that?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was going to say.
I just bought a $10,000 bed. I can't afford $300 more.
Jesus.
That was a joke. Anyway, the point is, so he comes out, takes off the locking lugs. So I buy wheels, and I spent days picking out these wheels.
Right.
I got a Vossen HF3 wheel. They're usually $5,600 for a set of 4.
Yeah.
I got them for like less than half that. I got a great deal on them. But I couldn't get the 21-inch 9.5s that I wanted. Okay, no big deal. I'll put the stock 29.5-inch wheel on there.
Right, yeah.
No problem. We're good to go. Order them through Car ID. Got a great deal on them. All right, it'll be here in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Immediately after I put my order in, they call me, and they're like, hey, these are on back order. We'll email you with a expected shipping date. Okay. The expected shipping date is like late September.
Uh-huh.
Then I get another email yesterday that says they're a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks because of global supply chain issues for Vossen.
I will chain you to a pipe!
So I cannot get these wheels for probably, the production is 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm probably 10 weeks away from getting these wheels. So where are we going to be in 10 weeks, man? We're going to be in late October, which means it's snowing. I'm not putting these wheels on in snow. Okay, fine. That's cool. Let me just go ahead and order the tires that go with them. So my girl at Audi's like, hey, I'll get these tires for you. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right, okay,
right, good.
I get a text yesterday morning, right before all the debauchery started. Hey, yeah, my tire rack guy can't get you those tires. You can.
I will downsize your face with a shovel.
You can go ahead and bring them on your own, and we'll put them on. Okay. So I go to Tire Rack to get the tires.
The rack!
And they're in production delay, but it's only 2 weeks.
The rack attack!
But I'm not buying them because I can't even get the fucking wheel for 10 weeks. Why am I going to buy a tire to sit in my garage and smell like new rubber that I can't use?
Whatever.
So now, not only do I not have new wheels, not only did I buy a $10,000 bed, not only did my power go out, not only did my landscaper not, and the other thing that pissed me off about the landscaper yesterday, and my wife who's sitting right here will attest that I said this to him. I said, if you need something, call or text me. I'm on the phone all day. I cannot come up. Yeah, no problem. All right, Brock. Okay, cool. Knock, knock, knock on the back door.
God damn.
Dogs explode barking while I'm on the phone. Oh, I forgot to tell you this part. He goes up there and he's like, okay, bro, by the way, so we redid this plan and, I mismeasured when I estimated your pavers. So I only measured half the area.
It's bullshit.
So instead of 3,000, it's going to be 5,900.
It's bullshit.
Or I think it was 5,600. It's going to be way the fuck more is what it comes down to. Because I mismeasured and then your wife completely changed her mind and she didn't. I'm just tweaking the bear. Then, we mismeasured and so I'm going to need $1,500 more in a deposit. Yeah, it's only money, man. It's only money.
Bro, how do you mismeasure? What do you mean? This is not a difficult project. It's a square.
Measure once, charge 3 times, apparently.
What do you mean you mismeasured, bro?
It's a square. He's like, oh, I didn't know. The only reason this whole paver pad nonsense came up was because we bought a Traeger smoker. We don't have anywhere to put it. So we wanted to put pavers in front of the fucking garage to have a place to put the smoker. And you know why he mismeasured? Because he didn't measure or include the place where the smoker is going to go.
How dumb do you think I am?
What's just a conversation we had? You told me how much you like my Traeger smoker, you prick.
God damn it.
And he doesn't measure where the Traeger smoker's going.
Y'all about to fuck this up.
Jesus. Dude.
So that was my Wednesday. How are you?
Man, wow. Dude.
So I'm not getting wheels. I'm not getting tires. My paver guy's ham. And the power went out. And then this morning the internet didn't work, so we couldn't start the show 3 times in a row.
Perfect.
There you go.
All right. Last couple of comments, then we're going.
No, we got to talk about epoxying your cock. Oh, you have a call at 8:30.
We should go.
Website.
We should go.
Okay,
Leave it for tomorrow.
We'll save the story for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because my wife is being an overlord. She's not. She has a job. Some guy put epoxy, like adhesive, on his penis, and it killed him. And he did it because he was high, but he wanted to make sure he had safe sex. So he put adhesive epoxy on his penis, sealed that MF shut.
People will die.
And it was actually his girlfriend's idea.
Dude.
So that they didn't get pregnant. Okay. I mean, Darwinism is real. Like, if you put epoxy on your penis, you should die. You should just...
You're dumb.
Somebody should show up and shoot you. Because how are you going to... Did you not think about how that was going to get off? Not you get off. How are you going to get that epoxy off your penis? Oh, you're just going to cut it off. You won't get pregnant if you do that.
Yeah, just hack it off. It's fine.
You don't need your penis, do you? Jake doesn't. I mean, he never uses his.
Hey.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, The Monty Show. MONTY, The Monty Show. It's only Thursday. One more day tomorrow. Until tomorrow, say epoxy your penis, Jake.
Epoxy your penis, Jake.